I knew something was off the moment my sister's kids started running circles around the hotel lobby. Not because kids running is unusual. Kids do that everywhere. But my parents were watching them the way people watch a problem forming. We had arrived only an hour earlier. 4 rooms booked months ago for a short family vacation. My parents, my sister and her 2 kids and me. Neutral territory. That was the idea. No one hosting. No one driving across town. Just a resort hotel on the coast where theoretically everyone could relax without old family dynamics sneaking in. For the first afternoon, it almost worked. Suitcases rolled over tile. My mom fussed about dinner reservations. My dad studied the hotel map like it was a military briefing. My sister kept apologizing for the kids' volume. Everyone smiled more than usual. Then evening came and the math started changing. My sister knocked on my door around 7. She didn't sit down. "The kids are wired," she said. "They're not going to sleep in our room. There's barely space for the pullout." I waited. In my family, requests rarely arrived directly. They circled first. Mom showed up a few minutes later. Dad leaned against the doorframe behind her. "You know how kids are," she said carefully. "We just thought maybe you'd be okay switching things around." "Switching how?" "Well," she said, like the answer was obvious, "your sister needs the extra space more than you do." There it was. The shape of it had been decided before the conversation even started. I looked past them toward the hallway where the kids were thumping their sneakers against the wall. And where would I go? Mom hesitated only briefly. "You could head home tonight. It's not that far. 3 hours." "Not far, apparently," Dad added gently. "It would just make things easier." Easier. That word followed me most of my life. Easier for everyone if I adjusted. If I moved. If I gave up the seat, the plan, the room, the weekend. Not because anyone disliked me. That wasn't the problem. It was simply that I was the most convenient piece to rearrange. I stood there a moment. No one sounded hostile. No one raised their voice. My sister shifted awkwardly and said, "It's just the kids." And the strange thing was, they all seemed certain I would say yes, like gravity. "I'll figure something out," I said. Relief moved through the doorway immediately. Shoulders dropped. Mom smiled in that quick way people do when a problem resolves itself. They didn't ask what I meant. They assumed it meant leaving. After they walked away, I sat on the edge of the bed for a while. Not angry. Not exactly. Just tired of recognizing the same pattern in new places. I opened my laptop. The hotel website was still open from when I checked the reservation earlier. Rooms were still available. Most of them were similar to the one I had. But one listing caught my attention. Penthouse suite. High floor. Ocean balcony. Living area bigger than my entire apartment. I stared at the price longer than I probably should have. Then I booked it. Not dramatically. Not out of spite. Just a quiet decision. I packed my bag, checked out of the room downstairs, and took the elevator up 12 floors. The suite was almost absurdly large. High windows. Pale wood floors. A balcony that looked straight across the water where the sun was dropping into a thin orange line. For the first time that day, the noise disappeared. No kids in the hallway. No family voices negotiating space. Just quiet. I sat outside for an hour watching boats move slowly through the bay. What surprised me most wasn't relief, it was how unfamiliar it felt to sit somewhere without anyone expecting me to solve something. The next day passed quietly. I read, walked along the shoreline, ordered breakfast I didn't finish. At some point in the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from Mom asking if I'd gotten home safely. I didn't answer right away. Around 5, there was a knock on the door. I already knew. When I opened it, the hallway looked like a small relocation effort. My parents stood closest to the door. Behind them was my sister holding one of the kids' jackets. 2 small suitcases sat upright beside the wall. No one looked angry, just hopeful. "Oh good," Mom said when the door opened. "We thought you might still be here." The kids tried to peek around my legs into the room. My sister glanced past me and her eyes widened slightly when she saw the living room. "This place is huge," she said. Dad cleared his throat. "We were thinking," he began carefully, "maybe we could all rearrange again." No one said the sentence directly, but it hovered there between us. The kids were tired, their room was cramped. This space could fix everything. I felt the old reflex stir for a moment. The instinct to smooth things over. To say, "Sure, come in." Then footsteps approached from the elevator. A man in a Navy hotel jacket walked down the hallway carrying a tablet. He stopped when he saw the small cluster of suitcases. "Good evening," he said politely, nodding toward me. "Mr." I nodded back. The manager glanced between the group and the open doorway. "Is everything all right?" Mom gave a small laugh. "Oh yes, we were just," he smiled gently. "I do need to mention," he said, "the penthouse suite is registered for a single guest." He spoke calmly, professionally. "Due to occupancy limits, we can't allow additional overnight guests without modifying the reservation." Silence slid into the hallway. The manager continued, "If your family needs a larger suite, I'd be happy to help the front desk check availability. No accusation, no tension, just policy, clear and final." For the first time in the conversation, no one looked at me to decide what would happen. My sister glanced down at the suitcases. Dad shifted his weight. Mom gave the manager a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh," she said softly. "Well, we'll check downstairs then." The manager nodded and stepped back toward the elevator. The hallway quieted again. My parents looked at me, not angry, just uncertain. I didn't say anything. There was nothing left to negotiate. After a moment, Dad picked up one of the suitcases. "All right," he said. "Let's go see what they have." They moved down the hallway slowly. The kids didn't protest. My sister followed behind them, glancing back once before turning the corner. I closed the door gently. The suite was quiet again. No victory feeling came with it. Just a small, steady realization settling in. They hadn't come upstairs because they missed me. They came because the room solved a problem. Later that evening, I saw them in the lobby while I was heading out for dinner. They were still here, still talking about beach plans and breakfast times, still a family. But something had shifted. For the first time, I wasn't the adjustable part of the arrangement. That night, I stood on the balcony again, looking out over the dark water. The wind was cooler than the night before, not lonely, just honest.